let's study about REST based services, right? REST, we talk a lot about REST based services these days, REST API, right? So, what is this REST in the concept of SOA or web services and microservices? Okay, REST stands for representational state transfer. Earlier, we said that between two web services, web service 1 and a client, right, the communication happens using SOAP protocol. SOAP is a protocol, right? It means it has some design of the content, right? It has some XML based format. We write the actual input and actual output is carried using this SOAP protocol. Okay, this is again this is put in an envelope and HTTP is the one who carries it. So, between a web service and a client, we use SOAP protocol for communication, right? People say so REST is an alternative for SOAP, but REST and SOAP are different. Let's understand what is this REST. REST stands for representational state transfer, right? It's a type of API that allows communication between different systems over the internet. Okay, basically again I have a web service here and I have a client. Okay, so client will send a HTTP request and web service will respond, give the response back, right? Instead of using SOAP template or SOAP format between the request and the response, right? We use HTTP methods. We use HTTP methods like get, post, put and delete to send the message. Okay, and we get the response back, right? So, this response is in JSON format because SOAP is XML based format. Here the response will be in JSON format. So, REST is an architectural style. Okay, it's a style where the response is coming in JSON format. Okay, again I will compare this with SOAP. In SOAP protocol we say there is HTTP, post method is there, right? A postman, he will carry the SOAP message. So, you are sending the data here in this HTTP post is carrying the actual data. Here we are not carrying the data. Okay, we are not sending the data, but instead we are sending the data as resources. Okay, let's understand this. So, REST APIs work by sending requests and receiving responses typically in JSON format, right? So, in simple terms, let's understand. REST is an architectural style for APIs, while HTTP is the communication protocol used for data transfer. So, REST is not a protocol, it is an architectural style. Okay. So, REST APIs use HTTP methods to interact with resources. So, in REST based communication, see REST based is theory. If you know SOA and web services, I said that SOA is a theoretical concept, whereas web services is the proof of that or implementation of that, right? Same way, REST says it's an architectural style. It says you have to follow certain principles. If you follow certain principles, that particular web service become REST based services. Okay, so we will see that principles as well, right? So, the most important principle says that in REST everything is considered as a resource. Instead of sending the SOAP data, you are considering every input as a resource. Okay, so REST defines how the API should behave, while HTTP defines the rule for communication, right? So, they commonly work together, but they serve different purpose. So, REST is an architectural style for designing web services. REST is not a protocol, not a data format. It is not a protocol, it is not a data format. It is just, it gives some set of guidelines, that is it. REST tells us some rules. Okay, HTTP we know, it is a communication protocol, right? And JSON is the data format. So, the format of data is JSON. Who is carrying that data? That is HTTP. How am I sending the message? That is given or instructed to me by the REST. REST tells me how to send the message, in what format to send the message, right? So, this is about the REST based services. What are the principles of REST? When do you say that a communication between two web services is REST based, or you are using REST API? When do you say that, right? So, first one is uniform interface. All resources are accessed in a standard way using HTTP methods. So, we said no, everything should be a resource. Everything should be a resource in the REST based communication. Okay, so all resources should be accessed in a standard way. So everything should be accessed using HTTP methods, right? Get, put, post, all that methods. Then the second principle is client server. The client server design pattern enforces the separation of concerns, right? Both client and server should not be connected to each other. In client server we say no, client is one who actually requests and server is the one who gives the response. They are separated. They are two separate entities. In the same way, in REST based communication, when one client is sending a request to the server, the other web service, both should be like client and server based. And the third one, stateless. Server does not remember previous request. Server should not store any previous request information. It should be stateless. Then the fourth one is cacheable. Responses can be saved, because if the same kind of request comes, I need not again generate the response. I can cache it and reuse it. Sometimes you go and click the website a little bit, it immediately gets the response. Why? Because it is storing that in the cache file. It is not loading the entire application. Previously loaded pages, it is immediately giving to you, right? Then the layered system. Clients does not know whether it is talking to actual server, proxy, load balancer or cache server. See, I am a client, I am sending a request to a particular web service. Whether this is really a web service or it is an actual proxy server or is it a load balancer, that client does not know. Its job is only to hit the request, right? Code on demand. Server can send executable code to the client. Server can send the executable code to the client, right? So these are few principles. So any API, application programming interface, right, which uses this principle can be called as a REST API, right? So we actually, in simple terms to tell, let's say for example, you are filling some form. You are filling some form, right? Filling a form. Okay, and once you fill the form, you are submitting the form, right? So your form which contains your data is the JSON, because it contains the data. It is in structured form. It has some columns which you have filled, right? HTTP is the one who will take your form and submit in the office. If you are filling the form and you are submitting, then you are like HTTP, because you are a carrier. You are taking that form and submitting in the office. But how to fill this form? That instructions is your REST. REST tells us how to fill that form, what to fill in which place. There are so many options in that, so many questions they are asking in that form, right? So how do we fill this form? What is this? In this place, what should I fill? In this place, what should I fill? That instructions is given to you by REST, right? So basically, we like in SOAP, we cannot see REST. SOAP, I am saying, it looks like XML based. It has envelope, it has header, body. We are sending. That is not there here. REST can use any kind of format, but it uses JSON to communicate, right? So when sending the request, I am sending only as resources. If you see here, right? See, https api.example.com resource. Okay, so we are sending the data as resources here in the REST protocol. REST all we get the response as the JSON format, right? So this is about the REST based web services or REST services or REST API, whatever you call, right? It says if you are following certain principles, right, then it becomes a REST API, okay, where you don't use the SOAP or XML based format. You simply use you send only the resources and you use HTTP methods, right? So this is about REST based services. Thank you.